going on? I don't even know if this thing is working. I don't even know if I'm live. I hope I am. I hope somebody on here, or I hope somebody jumps on here to let me know if you could even hear my audio or whatnot. But yeah, this is the first time I go live. This is really just I guess a test trial, you can say, because I haven't done it yet. And I've been debating whether or not I should go live more often, or if I should pick a day in a week to go live, which is what I really want to do. I want to do a live every week. That is the goal. I'm just trying to build up the subscriber bank here to ensure I get enough viewers to make it fruitful. But regardless, even if it's just a couple people, and if you get something out of this, that's always good too, regardless. So I mean, it says I'm live, it says I'm on for now. It's a minute and 6 minutes, or a minute and 6 seconds. Like, I am so new to this that I'm even going through the options right now and whatnot to see what it is I can do. Yeah, I don't even know. Let's see. Okay, that's cool. Got it. Oh, got some filters here I can mess with. Not a big fan of filters, but it's cool to know that it's on here. That's dope. So no, yeah. So even though this is my first live, I did have intention behind it. So right now I'm going on a long drive. I got a 3-hour drive ahead of me. So pray for me, because I have so many hours behind a windshield. It's not even funny. Between my personal life and my work life, it seems like my butt in a driver's seat in a car that's the majority of my life. I don't even know how else to say it. So yeah, I want to talk a little bit about fish, right? And yeah, it's funny to some people. I think the first thing I want to talk about is how I got into this hobby, like why I chose, of all things, fish to make a YouTube channel from. I've been through so many things in my life. I've had so many hobbies. I'd like to think that I've accomplished a lot. And getting to know me, if you knew me personally before I started getting into this fish hobby, you probably would have never thought that this is what I would create content on. But in reality, when I was younger, living with my parents, I don't know how old I was. Maybe I was 10, maybe preteen years, I don't know. But my dad and I used to go fishing all the time. Me, him, my grandfather, maybe my uncles. But fishing was really big in my life. And funny enough, I don't even eat fish, nothing like that. So the perk of fishing with me is that whatever I caught, if it was good enough to keep, you got to keep it, not me. So it was like getting twice as much fish just for fishing with me, because I ain't gonna do anything with it. I'm not gonna keep it, nor am I gonna eat it. I just like the fun of the sport, catch and release, the adrenaline from just catching the fish itself. But with that being said, there was one time we were fishing out in Holyoke, Massachusetts. Shout out to all my people out in Holyoke. We were fishing under a bridge, under an overpass, and this was like a super famous spot. For my people in Holyoke, you know what I'm talking about, all the way down Beach Street, crossing the South Hadley Bridge. So that bridge underneath is where we used to go all the time. It was like a walk's distance from our house. Halcyon, what up, Juicy J? What up, baby? Yeah, so that's where it started, really. We went fishing one day, and we caught a catfish. I think I caught it. I don't know, maybe he did. But a catfish, from what I can remember, this is just all coming from memory because I don't know for sure. The catfish that we caught might have been like inches big. And either we had a tank already, or I don't know, I might have begged my dad, please, let's keep it. And that's what we ended up doing. We ended up keeping this catfish. And we had it for quite some time, to the point where it outgrew its tank, and we figured the best thing to do was just release it back into the wild, which nowadays, who knows how people feel about that. But I mean, this is back in the day. So we released it into the wild, and who knows, I hope one day or I was always hoping that one day I'd see him out in the wild, or maybe I'll go fishing and catch him again and note it and recognize him, be like, "Oh, what's up, buddy?" and throw him back. But yeah, that never happened. He's probably somebody else probably caught him and cooked him up and ate him. Who knows? But keeping that fish really got me. That's what got me into like liking fish keeping. But that's the earliest memory in my childhood that I can recall as to what got me into it. After that, we never really owned fish ever again. I have an uncle who was really big into it. He always kept fish, but nothing crazy. I mean, right now, I think as we speak today, he's got a couple flower horns that are huge, and you know, he's had success with that. I'm not a big fan of flower horns. I'm not a big fan of South American cichlids, period, myself. And there are some that I like. There are some that are pretty cool looking. But for whatever reason, they've never really appealed to me. I'm more on the African cichlid side of the house. So fast forward, I had kids, and this was back in I know when I had the kids, but what I'm saying is after I had my two daughters, eventually I wanted to have a hobby, and I bought a 30-gallon tank. Well, this was, like I said, this was probably like 2013, 2014. Didn't know anything about African cichlids. All I knew is that when I first saw them, I was in love because of their bright colors. And I wanted something big, but not too, not huge, nothing small. So like when I'm talking about colorful fish in the freshwater hobby, I know that guppies exist and all that stuff, and I was trying to get away from. I didn't want to deal with guppies. And what I do know about guppies is that they reproduce frequently and often, and you can end up starting with 2 fish and have 10 by the end of the month, and they just keep going. They're a very fertile fish, if you know what I'm saying. So I didn't want to deal with that, so I ended up getting some African cichlids. I think I might have gotten like a white knight, a couple yellow labs, a Demasoni, and that's really it. Nothing too crazy. A couple of plecos, or maybe just one pleco, and that was my first taste of African cichlids. And now, again, I was not doing anything like what I do today. Like, I was not on top of my water changes like I should have been. I don't think I was even treating I was treating the water for tap water and chlorine, but I wasn't treating it with anything else as far as like beneficial bacteria or anything like that. So obviously I had issues in the tank. I was one of those guys that first day filled it up, throw some fish in it, put some water conditioner, and call it a day. And I was using the hang on the back filter that comes with the tanks, and that's how I was doing it. And I think I kept that up for maybe a year. And you know, the fish, obviously I was having trouble keeping them alive because I wasn't really focusing on what it is that was going on. I just thought that, you know, poor quality fish from where I was getting them at, and at the time I was probably getting my fish at Petco or something, or PetSmart. So I don't know. And then I've always had a flame, like how do you call it? Like that chapter in my life closed, but so suddenly, and I was never satisfied. So I always knew one day I'd pick it back up. I just didn't know when. Fast forward to present time, my wife at her workplace had a coworker who came up to her and said, "Hey," at the time we were just boyfriend and girlfriend. She's like, "Hey, I know you have a boyfriend. Is he into fish keeping at all?" And it's something I never spoke to her about, but she was like, "I don't know." So she contacted me one day. She's like, "Hey, I got a friend here at work who has a 30-gallon fish tank who's just getting rid of it. He doesn't even want to sell it. He just wants to get rid of it." I had, you know, why not? So I said, "Yeah, sure, whatever." I took it over, and that day, my butt was in YouTube researching everything that I could to make sure that now that I have a clean slate and a fresh start, I wanted to make sure I was doing everything right, by the book, and I was trying to find the best professionals online for guidance. And sure enough, what did I do? I went right back into African cichlids, and it took off from there. So I had the 30-gallon all set up. If you check out my channel, my first YouTube video on fish actually has that 30-gallon tank that I'm talking about in my first video. And you'll see that from what I'm used to now, that tank to me is like tiny. but I had it going on. I think I had the best setup in the world for a 30 gallon at the time. And I had bought my first, I did my first online purchase for fish, because forever I've been really skeptical on buying fish online. Never done it before, so it was kind of a fear of mine. But I went to Tropical, what was it, Imperial Tropicals, which shout out to them, shout out to Mike out there killing it. I highly recommend, if you're ever gonna get fish online, go to them. They are one of the best in the industry. But anyways, I ordered, I think, like 10 fish, all juvenile size, maybe 1-2 inch, and threw them in that tank. And the rest is history, man. Like, I fell in love with the hobby so much that I think within in the first maybe 2 months, not even, I said I gotta upgrade. I went from a 30 quickly to a 60 gallon. I wasted no time. And that 30 gallon ended up being like my quarantine tank slash fry grow out tank, which I have now in my bedroom. And then shortly after that, I was like, you know what? I like peacocks and mbunas equally. And I know that online and what we've been taught throughout all these YouTube videos and fish keepers, it's not the smartest idea to keep peacocks and mbunas together in the same tank. But I did it anyways, and I'm not gonna lie, I've had quite a bit of success. I've never really had any issues. I mean, seriously, I've never really had any issues at all mixing the two. But what I do know is that they do prefer different environments. So what I mean by that is peacocks are open swimmers, enjoy more of a free open space to swim around, whereas mbunas love a rocky environment, love the decor, love a place to hide. They love to have a place that they can claim as their own. And that's where they feel most comfortable. So for a while there, in my 60 gallon, I've tried to play, I tried to satisfy both worlds. And is it possible? Yeah, it's possible, but it's a little bit of a pain, I think, as far as like, I know that the mbuna and the peacocks are happy, but not as happy as they can be versus them having their own environment specific to them. So what did I do? I went on Facebook Marketplace, found out there was this older couple that was selling their 90 gallon, which, if you don't know, the 90 gallon that I got from them, I think it's made by Marineland. But the 90 gallon I got from them is the same exact footprint as a 75 gallon, just taller. So it was perfect. It was awesome. So I picked that up from them. I think I picked it up from them for like $50. And the reason why it was so cheap is because the tank was a little on the older side, but they weren't sure if it was leaking or not. So cool, whatever. I took a risk and I said, hey, I want it anyways, and I'll try to fix it. Took it back home, filled it up with water to the top, and left it overnight. Not a single drop of water came out of that thing at full capacity. So I was like, awesome. But in the back of my head, I was like, I don't know if I want to take a risk on a 90 gallon that they think might have been leaking. I didn't want to come home one day to all my fish and water on the floor because the seal popped in the tank or something. So whether this is stupid or not, I don't know, but hey, $50 I spent on this tank. So I went ahead and I took out all the old silicone, I razor bladed it, and I ordered me some black aquarium safe silicone so that way I can reseal it. Mind you, I've never done it before. I've heard lots of good and bad and ugly of people's experiences resealing tanks, and whatever, I bit the bullet, and it's something I'm gonna try. So right now I got all the old silicone out of there. I gotta hit it with some acetone or something similar to get any other extra residue out, and then I'm gonna lay down the new sealant. By the way, I know that I got at least one person in here, but hey, if you can hear me, I'd appreciate a thumbs up or whatnot, or let me know if you can hear me, because I am driving pretty fast. It doesn't sound too crazy, like too noisy in the cabin, but I just want to make sure that you can hear me loud and clear. So if you can let me know, that'd be awesome. But anyways, yeah, so I got that 90 gallon, and so my plan is, once I reseal that 90 gallon and call it good, and I grow the balls to actually put it in my house and fill it with water, I'm gonna use the 90 gallon to house all of my peacocks, have a nice open layout, maybe a 3D background, which would be pretty cool. I'm still not sure if I'm gonna go white or black substrate. I might just go with a ragonite sand. Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Magic Mike, my man, appreciate it. Hey, I appreciate you listening in on this, man. Thank you, thank you. Share this video. Share it to other people. I don't care if they like fish or not. Share it. But so yeah, I'm not sure what substrate I want to go with that 90 gallon yet, but that's a for sure deal. I'm going to use that for my peacocks, and then the current 60 gallon I'm going to use for my Mbunas, and so that way I can keep them separate, and I can get more of peacocks and Mbunas, not worrying about them clashing, having too many in one tank. Although, when keeping African cichlids, it is a smart idea to overstock your tank. What do I mean by overstocking your tank? You gotta think about it in this sense, right? So let's say I'm gonna use a human example, which is, bear with me, it's probably gonna sound stupid, but let's say it's you and 2 other people in a tank or in a courtyard, and one of the people got beef with you. It's kind of hard to run away from the other person when it's just the 3 of you there. You can't lose him because he's gonna know who you are, and you're always gonna be in his sight. Now let's say it's you and 100 people. I'm exaggerating. Let's say it's you and 100 people in the courtyard, and only one person got beef with you. It's gonna be a little harder for them to find you. They're gonna be distracted with everyone else around, and they'll probably just forget about the beef itself. Same concept goes into having an overstocked tank. If you have a healthy overstocked tank, no one fish is gonna get picked on, or at least not as much as they would be if you didn't have an overstocked tank. So that's something to keep in mind. It's not for all fish, but it's definitely a good method to use if you're housing semi to aggressive fish, for sure. Who's on here? My man Hasil, Jose, man, that's Juicy J. You are, I don't care what you say, it's Juicy J, and that's what it's gonna be. But yeah, man, I can go on forever giving advice, talking about fish. Really, I'm just trying to grow this channel. I'm trying to grow awareness. I'm really trying to build this channel up from the ground up, from a amateur's perspective. Too often, I check out these other channels from other creators on the same hobby, and I think that they tend to forget that not all their viewers are professionals. Although you got some OG subscribers that stick with you from the beginning and grow with you. If you're constantly getting subscribers, you don't know if these people are coming to you for advice as a beginner. And even though you might have old videos, you can say all day, hey, if you're a beginner to the hobby, check out my old videos from back then. It'll help you out. But this hobby is continuously evolving and growing. There's new ideas being put out there. So it's important to keep that stuff fresh. And so that's kind of like my goal. I want to answer the obvious questions. I want to help out the beginner that's scared to take a leap in something. Like, for me, example, like I was afraid to order fish online because the only thing I'm thinking of is, just shared your video. Thanks, bro. I appreciate you, baby. The only thing I can think of before ordering fish online was, damn, they're gonna put fish in a bag, then they're gonna put it in a box, then they're gonna ship it out, and we all know the postal carriers and the fear of them not caring about your package and just throwing them around and just beating them up. I'm thinking the same way with my fish. I'm like, damn, my fish are in a box in a truck. Like, how are they gonna get to me alive? That was my biggest thing. And surprisingly enough, shockingly, every single fish that I've ordered so far online have all come to me alive, well, healthy, perfect shape. Now the cool thing is, most, if not all, the companies that ship fish out to you have what's called a DOA, which is called dead on arrival. It's like a policy. So like if you get your fish and they arrive dead, some of them have a policy to where if you open up your package for the first time recording, like the best advice I can give anybody, if you're gonna order fish online, set up your phone in a way or whatever you got, set up your camera, and start recording from the moment you're about to rip open your box to check out your fish, to show proof, because they're going to ask for proof. They want to see proof that when you opened it for the first time and you took out the bag of fish, that they are dead. And the reason for this is so that way people aren't getting away with maybe user error and killing the fish themselves and then blaming it on the company or blaming it on the shipping company. Once you give them that proof, most companies will refund you, or they'll go ahead and honor sending you a replacement fish. So that kind of takes away from the fear. So it's pretty cool, because when you get into this hobby and you get deep in it, some of these fish are not cheap. Like, there's some fish that go for a pretty penny. I think that the most expensive fish I bought when I bought my first 10, and mind you, I'm getting them at an inch, maybe at an 1.5 inch size, not too big. I think the most expensive one was like $10-15 for that size. And you can only imagine the bigger the fish, the more expensive, especially if it's a male. And then you can get breeder packs where you'll get 1 male for every 3 females or something like that. But anyways, these fish can easily get up to $30, $40, $50. I've seen some in the hundreds. I mean, you can go and check out SnakeRiverCichlids.com, and every week they have an auction, and these fish go for over $100 in these auctions. And these are fish that I have in my own tank, and I'm like, damn, like my fish, like, you know, I have my fish have already grown out to about 4 to 6 inches on the biggest, on the bigger side, and the fish that are auctioned are going for around 4 to 5 inches, and they're being sold at 100 plus easy. I think I've seen some go for over $300 because people want them that bad. And to Snake River's defense, I mean, it's not them that's hiking the price. They just have a smart system in place where they just leave it to an auction and leave people to battle it out. If you want the fish that bad, outbid the other person. So it's kind of crazy to know that fish can go for that high in price, and people will buy them. So it's reassuring that this hobby's alive and well and people are still into it. But it's still crazy to me to think that I'm probably sitting on some fish at home that can go for $150 to $200 a pop. And in my tank, I think I got like 40 or 50 fish. So yeah, that's a big chunk of change. So it's, you know, again, the purpose of this channel, help out the average person starting out, maybe even the person that's already in this hobby and wants to know more of the ins and outs, more in depth. I like to make dumbed down videos, and the reason being is because it's not that I think that you won't be able to grasp the information if I give it to you textbook style, but if you're anything like me, I just want to know the basic. I just want to, like, give me the answer that I'm looking for, and if I want more information, like more in-depth information, I'm gonna ask you. I'll ask. But if I didn't ask, just give me the bare bones, straight to the point. What do I gotta know? How do I do it? What stay away from, what not to do, and keep it pushing. So a great example of this is my last larger video that I uploaded. I think it's like 15 minutes long. I talked about the nitrogen cycle. The nitrogen cycle is a pain in the ass to understand and grasp for the beginner. I know this because I was there, and I knew nothing about the nitrogen cycle. I knew that, like, I heard the term thrown around a couple times, and I've heard about, you know, needing beneficial bacteria to get established in your tank to help you with cycling your water to make sure that it's safe for fish, and, you know, but to be honest, as a beginner and whatnot, that's not the main focus for you. Like, really, the main focus is getting fish in your tank and being able to enjoy it. So even now, like, people that have been in the game this deep, like, nobody wants to wait 2-3 weeks, maybe even a month for their tank to cycle before putting fish in. I'm a pretty impatient person, so I get it. But if you check out that video, you want to learn more about the nitrogen cycle. No BS, no scientific terms thrown at you, no high detailed explanations as to what it is. It's the basics, the bare minimum on what it is that you need to know in order to establish the nitrogen cycle in your tank to make sure that your fish will thrive in that environment. And hey, I can break it down real quick, right? So you need ammonia to be present in your tank. Ammonia will be broken down into what's called nitrites. Nitrites is a bacteria that breaks down from ammonia, and then from nitrites it gets broken down and it gets eaten by other bacteria and it gets turned into nitrates, and that's it. Once you get nitrates present in your aquarium, you are good to go to perform your first water change to lower those nitrate levels, as long as you no longer have ammonia and nitrites. And the reason why you'll no longer have ammonia and nitrites is because you've established enough beneficial bacteria in your tank to quickly consume ammonia and nitrites and convert it into nitrates. So the only thing that you'll ever see in your tank, once it's established, is a rise in nitrates. That's something that you can't get rid of. That's something that's always going to happen because you're going to feed your fish and your fish are going to poop. And over time, as that deteriorates in your water, you're going to build up nitrates. And that's just how it goes. And the only way to get rid of nitrates is to do a water change. How much of a water change you do is up to you. Every single week religiously on a Sunday, I do an 80% water change. And no, you do not remove your fish for a water change. But I remove 80% of my water. What that is exactly, as far as gallons go, I don't know. I don't math. But all I can tell you is that when I bring the water level all the way down, I have about maybe 4 inches of water in my tank, and then once I get down to that level, I refill it with fresh water, making sure the temperature matches, and I treat the water just like any other time. I treat for the amount of water that I'm putting in. So if I have a 60 gallon, I replace 80. I basically treat the entire tank as if I did 100% water change. So I treat for 60 gallons. What do I use? Sorry. A quick shout out to not my sponsor. But bang, talk to me if you want to get on this. Anyways, treat your water, right? What do you use, or what do I use to treat my water? I personally use what's called Seachem Laboratories. I think that's like their full company name, but Seachem is one of the most popular brands out there in the aquatics world. They do freshwater and saltwater products, but I'm all about quality, and I found that Seachem offers the best quality and bang for your buck. It's really not that expensive to get their products. I mean, freshwater in general is not too crazy, but when you jump into saltwater, that's a whole nother game. You're talking about, I think I was looking into it one day, and obviously it's all depending on what size and what kind of fish, and do you want to keep corals and all that kind of stuff. But bare minimum to get everything that you need to get started, I was looking at like $2,000. Like, bro, what? $2,000 just to start up, and that's not even with fish. And not to mention, fish in the saltwater world are expensive as hell. And I get it. I understand why. I mean, nothing touches the color and the exotic look of saltwater fish. But that's why I'm so into African cichlids in the freshwater world, because in my mind, in my opinion, it's the closest you can get to saltwater looking fish when it comes to the variety and the color patterns and how, the amount of personality they have. So that's why I African cichlids really appeal to me, and it's less than half the cost of a saltwater tank setup. So yeah, that's not even something I'm gonna get into. That's another conversation to get into the weeds about. But even still, I'm not a saltwater guy because there's not much that I can even tell you on saltwater, to be honest. I didn't even see your message. Keep grinding your YouTube channel. For sure, bro. For sure. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. I found my niche. I found my passion.